Hello, Pressman here, and in this video we are going to go over the different openers in 14.2 and what you can play them into. As usual, we are going to go over like sort of a one cost chosen tier list, and with the changes that came in 14.2, this is what it's going to look like. I think Jinx got moved up to S tier. I think if I remember correctly, on like the last patch, it was just Olaf and Vi. Now Jinx is up here as well. So for S tier, we have Jinx, Vi, and Olaf. A tier, K'Sante, Evelynn, Taric, Nami, Kennen. B tier, Corki, Annie, Yasuo, and C tier, Lilia, Thomas Kench. On the screen, I have sort of like ideal items, like what kind of items that they use, shown here if you're looking to play around them. For example, Jinx is a backline carry, so like Rageblade, Runan, like this is her, like sort of like her bis if you are rerolling her, like Rageblade, Runan's Last Whisper, but it gives you like the general idea that she can use like lots of AD items, lots of AD carry, attack-oriented items. And Vi, for another example, BT Titan Sterax, she is more of like a bruisery role, and it just gives you a general idea of like what kind of items like she would be looking for, as well as like what kind of like role she fits as a unit. Let's get right into it. Following that, I have a 2-cost tier list chosen. Like say it gives you like an idea of like what you can upgrade your chosen into like along the way. So for example, like Vi and Olaf share similar items with Gnar, so it's like you can easily just swap out your Vi chosen for a Gnar chosen if you happen to find one, if your board makes sense for it, and you can just put like those items onto it. But yeah, for the 2-cost chosens, we have Katarina, Gnar, Kayle, Kai'Sa, and Bard in S tier, Seraphine, Aphelios, Senna, Twitch in A tier, Garen, Gragas in B, sorry, and Jax, Pantheon in C. Katarina here, she's like an okay item holder, but I have her in S tier because she is a super strong reroll comp. Gnar is an extremely good item holder. He's rerollable, as well as just like someone that you can really well that you are someone that is like a strong carry just throughout stage 3 and 2. Kayle also rerollable, as well as what's called like strong carry throughout stage 2 and 3. Kai'Sa, again rerollable, but also strong carry throughout stage 2 and 3. And Bard also rerollable, but strong carry throughout stage 2 and 3. If you have the correct items. Seraphine, rerollable. You can, like, depending on your items, she uses a pretty strong carry. Aphelios is a Heartsteel unit. Our Heartsteel units will never be under A tier. At the worst, they'll be A tier. Senna, strong carry, strong item holder throughout mid game. Twitch, strong, decent item holder throughout mid game, as well as rerollable. That about covers it for the 2 costs. And jumping straight into it, I know right here it shows a lot, but in this one I'm going to go over Vi and Jinx just because they're connected by the punk chosen tag, and it's sort of the way that you would play both of them, you can like look at them pretty similarly. Okay, so to start off, Vi is a punk and mosher, and there are a lot of strong moshers early game that you are just like super high value units right now, excluding Jax, of course. Jax is kind of trash, but like that would be Gnar, Urgot, and Set. You can easily play Gnar as just like anything, just give like your chosen Vi mosher. Gnar is a strong and viable unit, just to toss in there. He's a lot of HP once he transforms, and he does a lot of damage as well. Urgot got quote-unquote nerfed. I don't know if it's like considered like a nerf, like changed, I guess it would be a better way to put it. He's still beyond broken. Stage 2, he's still a demon. S tier mosher, if you have Vi, chosen Vi, Urgot behind her, like GG, you're super strong. Set, another mosher, S tier unit as well, just because like it has a Heartsteel tag. Heartsteel right now is extremely strong. It's an extremely strong trait, just like to play throughout like at any point during the game. It's sort of like it's a guaranteed econ, as well as like it gives you the option to spike. Like if your early game is really bad, it gives you the option as well as the ability to just spike extremely hard later and just play for a different point in the stage of the game. And with Vi, again, so it's like Gnar, you can treat Gnar and Urgot as like sort of like a backliner behind your bruiser, like some sort of range carry behind your bruiser. With Seth, you can also just like giving Mosher to Vi, like a chosen Vi, is really good just because she is a bruiser. She's not really a tank, so she benefits from the lifesteal as well. And with Seth, of course, it comes the Heartsteel tree. Heartsteel is just super broken, and one thing you would notice about the Heartsteel, like the Heartsteel units as well, it is a double trait for Vi and Jinx. You have Aphelios for rapid fire, and you have Set for Mosher. So just like with that, like punk is super easy to fit into Heartsteel, like just like a Heartsteel combination or Heartsteel trio. Yeah, it also lets you like gives you like one gold rolls throughout the game if you do need it. You don't always roll, but like in some situations like where it's like it's super efficient to roll, like you get a $1 roll anyways. You have the option to. So yeah, like this is one opener. It's just Vi with Heartsteel. You can basically do anything you want with Heartsteel. It's just guaranteed econ. You can play this into a level 8 board. You can just play this for like one cash out if you're trying to look into something else. Like it's just the units are really strong, fits in really well. Here, Gnar, Urgot are just good backliners or just like good Marshal units to pair with your Vi. Okay, Sante here, you can have like back to the Heartsteel board here. You can just like, like just Mordekaiser, just like any Sentinel to go with here. On top of that, so you don't have Heartsteel, so you have like Senna, like this is your backline, like Senna Jinx, you have Jinx chosen. You can just like, is any sort of frontline, like Sentinel here. If you have Vi chosen, again, Vi is a bruiser slash DPS, like she's a melee fighter, she's not a tank, so it's like you want to have a frontline for your Vi, and like with that you can just like play any 2 Sentinels, any 2 bruisers, just like any sort of frontline for your Vi. You just basically want to be protecting her if you have the option to, because like Vi and Jinx are strong units throughout the early game. It's for Punk easily accessible, especially if you're like Punk +1, you don't need both, you only need one. For Punk is like extremely accessible, easily accessible trait, as well as giving like lots of early power. Like unit quality in Pantheon slash like Twitch may not be like the highest, but it's just like the raw stat from 4 Punk early on is extremely valuable. With Pantheon you can just play any Guardian. Again, you like some sort of frontline for your Vi slash Jinx, because they're both damage dealers. Here, Senna, Aphelios are both rapid fires that could pair with your Jinx. If you happen to have like say Punk chosen Vi, you don't have like a Jinx, that's fine. But you like stumble across these guys, you can just go, you don't even need Jinx, you can just go like Senna. You can just itemize like whoever is best for your items. Say like, like even a Kaisa. Like Kaisa is just a really strong unit. Ideally you want Big Shot in. But Kaisa is just a really strong unit that is like a standalone unit as well. Yeah, like Vi too early, like not even chosen. Say you find like chosen Big Shot Kaisa later. Like, that's fine. You just have like you just play like quality units, high quality units into like what you're looking to aim for with your like depending on based on your items. Well, now that I cover like most of the like different variations that you can play like with Vi and Jinx, you just try to like to recap, you just basically just try to look and create a board based off like the traits, early game high quality units, as well as the early game high quality traits that you should be looking for to match with them. And yeah, and onto like what you can sort of play with this, or like play with from these openers. Depending on your items, you like generally try to aim for comp based off your item. So it's like, or if you have like Rage Blade on your Jinx, like typically you try to look for Jinx, more so for Jinx reroll. There aren't many units that you can really use Rage Blade. In fact, there isn't really any. Probably be like Sona and TF. Like TF's not really part of the meta anymore. Sona is like playing for like a 5 cost carry starting from 2-1 is like a little troll, because it's like a little hard to get there sometimes. Reroll Jinx heavily relies on Rage Blade. So for example, if you have like IE here with like a Heartsteel opener, you can easily just go into Ezreal Z. Again, like Heartsteel is probably like the most surefire way to get into Ezreal Z, which is easily like the highest capping comp right now, just because of the Heartsteel trait and like being able to run Heartsteel throughout the entire game. You just farm infinite resources compared to everyone else. Yeah, you would just like look to itemize like Jinx if you can, like Jinx items onto Ezreal. I is extremely good with BT. Like you just BT on here, like it can just go into Z later, depending on your items as well. So you have like BT Vi, you have Heartsteel here, and your items are like, he say you drop a Rod off Krugs, you have to make a death cap. You have BT death cap, it's fine. Just make sure you hold Lilia along the way. You can run like Lilia like for Sentinel if you like need to, stuff like that. You can play this into Viego Karthus, like death cap here, BT here. You don't want to get Lilia jailed. What I mean by Lilia jailed is like you're rolling for a comp on level 8, but you didn't carry like the core unit that is a $1 along the way, and you just end up never finding it on 8 just because of shop odds. Yeah, so you just try to hold Lilia along the way if you're trying to go into Karthus Viego. Again, like BT slam from here. You can also look into Gnar, for example. Like Gnar uses BT really well. You just make sure you hold Lilia along the way again, because you go super fan pentakill for Gnar with 2 monster in if you can. You can also BT into Riven or Yone. Although Riven and Yone are starting to see like they're not nearly as strong as they were last patch, partly because it's super hard to hit Riven because there are so many Ezreal Z players and they usually run Yone. It's super hard to hit Yone. And Riven is you can play into Riven. I have actually seen like a decent amount of Riven. So especially like Riven that does like pretty solid. Again, Riven when con is 8 bits, so you like need to spat for that. Try to angle sort of like what comp you have depending on your items. And again, like these are like viable items. I can take out the Jinx reroll items here and put in like more like traditional AD items. Like these like type of item slams are good on like these specific chosens / like units. And generally you just aim for a comp that like uses the items as best as you can. I guess like Poppy can use BT as well. in Ezreal Zed if you like don't happen to find Zed. Yeah, I think that about covers it for what you generally try to play into with like Punk slash Heartsteel opener, or like just like playing around Punk really. Yeah, if you're not playing Punk reroll. On to the next one, Olaf. I did talk about Olaf in the last openers video. He's been kind of like a staple for like quite some time now, or sort of like 2 patches, I guess. And like honestly, like not like that much has changed with Olaf. Like his openers are again like the same. You just try to hit whatever tags that you can. Pentakill, like these are the 3 like strongest pentakill units. They're the only accessible ones early, as well as like being pretty like relatively strong. The best bruiser is Set, and the reason for that is because of Heartsteel. Urgot can easily just go super well with Set. Urgot doesn't need country active, doesn't really even need Mashra active to be a good unit. Olaf is just like a frontline bruiser, BT on him, Urgot backline. Gnar, Urgot, share Mashra as well. You can even play if you like a Disco opener. Although like again, I want to clarify, Disco is not very good. Like it's not very good comp to end on. It's still probably one of the strongest openers in terms of like combat strength on stage 2, just because of how Disco works. Like the just like the trait itself, like the healing, the ramping, it's just super strong on stage 2. Again, Pentakill. It's super easy depending on your items to transition into Karthus Viego Akali. Let me get rid of these guys. Again, if you're like leaning this, just make sure you hold Lilia along the way. The most important, like the hardest unit to find in Karthus Viego Akali. If you have Heartsteel, you can easily just play into Karthus Viego Akali again, depending on your items. You just get like 1 cash out throughout the mid game. You can also easily play into Ezreal Zed, just because it's Heartsteel. You have infinite resources. You just keep these units the entire game. Alright, I guess like not K'Sante, but Yone Set the entire game, and the items like transition over relatively easily. Like you can just like blue buff someone else, like blue buff Urgot or something like that, blue buff red buff Urgot along the way, like behind your Olaf chosen, and yeah, you eventually just go into Zed Ezreal from there. Another thing is Riven Yone, BT here, like just transfers over. Mordekaiser Kale carries over to both Riven and Yone. You can go into Gnar reroll as well. If you have if you natural a bunch of Gnars, you just roll on level 6 for Gnar, super fan, and then you push vertical penta if you can for like the Olaf openers. Gnar, Riven, Yone, Ezreal Zed, Karthus Viego Akali. Next one, we will go into K'Sante. K'Sante is just pretty standard unit. He will never be under A tier. He will always be like the best unit in A tier probably, just because of his Heartsteel tag. Like I'm not gonna talk like too much about K'Sante, just because it's like I've talked about him like in my last video as well, and like I've mentioned him in every single opener so far. It's basically the same thing again. You just focus on Heartsteel. You know, depending on your item slams, you typically try to aim into Ezreal Zed. You can go Yone Ribbon again, just because like he can easily hold like, you know, like BT stuff like that along the way. Karthus Viego Akali as well. BT, like, you know, just use like BT Titan, Starax really well. Just make sure you hold Lilia again for Karthus Viego Akali. You can go like K'Sante Superfan if you get like an early Nico. His item is Starax. You just build in like a bruisery sort of thing. Like typically like this isn't like a board that like 5 streaks stage 2, or like is it usually contest 5 streak in stage 2, but it's like if this is the only opener you have and it's the only opener you have, then it's super easy to just play this into Viego Karthus Akali, since you're holding Superfan along the way, as well as K'Sante can really easily hold Akali slash Viego items. Here, like Vi Jinx fits into Heartsteel super easily. Like the traits just mesh super well, as well as like the units getting buffed slash like their traits getting buffed this patch. You can even, so it's like, let me take these guys out. So like you have like this opener, you have like Hodge Slam, and that means your items are like Hodge Starax, depending on your spot, as well as like if you natural a couple Katarinas along the way on stage 2, you can even look to just play into Katarina. It's just like an item check thing. You just try to look for what your spot is best for based off your items, and then stuff like Heartsteel enables like sort of like level 8 comps, or like certain things enable like level 8 comps. Like Heartsteel easily enables level 8 comps just because it's money. It's super easy to get to level 8. Good items enable like reroll spots. So example like Hodge plus Rod is what you're playing around. You can easily look for Katarina. Like BT, Titans, you can look for like Viego, you can look for like Akali, you can look for like Riven, Yone. I think that covers it for K'Sante. He's pretty generic. He's been like a staple for like a while now. Again, the Evelynn opener. Evelynn is like a feast or famine unit, I would say. When she does well, she does really well, but when she doesn't do well, she does terribly. And the reason for that is because she needs healing. She has like built-in healing, but like her built-in healing is not really built-in healing. It's like 20 per auto. It's not really enough. And like the items that like she excels with are not like the most slammable items. But like with this patch, Katarina did get buffed, and like with that, Katarina and Evelynn literally share the exact same bis, which is like Hodge, Jewel Gauntlet, and their superfan items are the same too. Evelynn is a super easy transition into Katarina if you like have like an early Hodge or something like that. and like Superfan, you go double Hodge Evelyn. You double Hodge Evelyn is extremely common to 5-streak stage 2 with, and you can just like play into whatever your spot is best for. So you have like Hodge, Death Cap. You can just look into like Viego, Kali, Karthus. Super easy transition since you're holding Superfans. Natural like 2 Katarinas on stage 2 and are able to hold them. I'd probably just look for Katarina. Again, like Katarina, you just want to like you want to roll in 7 if you can, but like you need to find the chosen as well. So like you can slight roll on 6. Sometimes you just roll on 6 instead if like you're close enough. But if you can, you want to like slight roll on 6, get the chosen, and then just go 7 and finish rolling for Katarina there, because you really want Zed as well. Like any chance for Zed odds. Evelyn is just like an item check as well as a super fan check. In order for her to be enabled, you can even go like Hodge, like you can like BT on her, like BT, IE. You can look for Ezreal Zed if you like streak hard enough to like level 8. Just because like this comp requires a lot of money and you just pivot into Heartsteel with high HP, which is another way to play this. You don't need Heartsteel early. Heartsteel early is just like a super easy way to get there because it's guaranteed money. And here I have Disco. Disco as a comp is not very good to end on. Like you really do not want to be ending on TF this patch. Disco is still like probably one of the strongest openers on stage 2. I think that's like how like they meant to design the trait as well. It's just like a stage 2 powerhouse. And usually when you play Disco, you can itemize like anyone really, just because you don't really plan on keeping any of these units because a TF sucks. I guess it doesn't suck, but like if I had to put him like in a tier, I'd probably put him like B- to like C+ tier as a comp. And yeah, so like you don't really care about keeping these. The only thing that changed from like Disco like this patch versus last patch is the itemization. You don't really want to be itemizing like like TF items anymore, like Shojin Rageblade. Because what are you going to do with Shojin Rageblade later if you don't want to be ending on TF? Like nothing. So it's like you just itemize like depending on like like what comp you're looking for. So example for like you can go like Shojin, Deathcap. Again, that's like TF items, but it's like you can put that on Karthus. Just make sure you hold Lilia along the way. For Karthus Viego, you can just go like to like red buff, or you have like IE red buff Nami. You can just play this into Ezreal. You just switch into Heartsteel when you can. And like just drop Disco when you can for like anything better. Do like Kaisa. Like again, like I have it here. Like show like what kind of items like these units use. Take the items that you're playing on stage 2 onto a better unit. Yeah, you can easily play into like a Zed, Ezreal, or Karthus, Kali, Viego. This because this goes like one of the strongest openers in stage 2 still. You more times than not you streak, and like if you're able to streak, that's another form of guaranteed of money. It's just not guaranteed because it's like streaking is you can never guarantee streak just because it's TFT. Like sometimes like someone else is probably high rolling like their early game shops as well. I think that covers it about for Disco. You don't slam TF items, you slam viable comp items, and you just play strongest forward into whatever it is that you're looking for. Here I have Corki. Corki has not really changed that much. Corki is probably like one of like the more common or like the most known opener because it's been viable or it wasn't really viable last patch, but it was viable like the patch before if I recall correctly. And like not much has changed. You really want to hit Big Shot as well as 8-bit. Big Shot chosen is better than 8-bit chosen because Big Shot gives more AD than 8-bit, and then it also lets you slotting like Garen, as well as like not needing to run like some other big shots. It's just easier to fit, as well as like easier to find usually. Here like Lilia, Nico, Kennen, like this is a strong opener. Corki, Garen, like the KDA Big Shot 8-bit opener. Depending on your items, say like blue buff IE, you can like try to look for Ezreal. Just try to look for a Heartsteel along the way. So eventually you can slot that in. If it makes sense. If you're like not on streak, you can just put in Heartsteel for money and look to spike later with the money. That's for like Ezreal. Like you have like blue buff like Gunblade. You can look for like Ari Zed Flex. Blue buff Gunblade. You can also, depending on your spot, or like depending on like what units you find along the way, or like and your augments, you can also look into Vex, like Vex and Mumu. Blue buff Gunblade Deathcap is Vex Biz. Like blue buff, like from this opener as well. Like you can even look for Bard. Blue buff goes on Bard. AD items. Like blue buff IE, like IE just goes on Kaisa. You already have Superfan. You can go into Bard. I don't think there's like too much to talk about for the Corki opener. It's just like more so like what you're really looking into. Like it just all depends on your items. I do think Kennen is extremely strong. It's like the way like Kennen is just like a little weird. Like sometimes like Kennen is your frontline as well as your damage. And like sometimes that's fine depending on your itemization for Kennen, but like sometimes it's like not enough. So it's like really iffy on like taking Kennen. Like Kennen did get buffed this patch, and I do think he's extremely strong. Like how easy it is to play around him is not that easy, which is why I like don't have him like like in S tier. Usually with Kennen, like Kennen's an extremely strong tank, and you really want Superfan active. You really want all his traits active, which is like the issue. Like you really want Guardian active for the front line. You really want True Damage active on Chosen Kennen for like self healing as well as the damage. And you really want Superfan active because it gives him an item. And like that's like one of Kennen's issue is he shines when he has all 3 traits active, and it's really hard to hit all 3 traits early on. But yeah, like a Crown Guard on Kennen would be insane. Crown Guard Warmongs. Kennen is definitely gonna have trouble like killing Olaf. Like he has CC, but like he doesn't have the damage like by himself. So you do need backline that can like help support him. Kennen is like he's really good. Like he's just enabled by all 3 traits. Also like his item slam, like the items that he does well with, like they aren't really damage items, so you don't have like that much direction in terms of like itemization when you're playing like around Kennen. Use item as like a 1-star backline. It's like DB here, for example, and then you play around that. He is enabled by all 3 traits. Here you can go like this for KDA. You can just play around Kaisa, Corki, Big Shot, for example. You can just play around anything, like sort of like Senna to enable true damage. Aphelios or Jinx, boom. You can even go like Pantheon, Jinx. This doesn't hit Superfan. I would say Superfan is probably like the least important trait to hit on him out of the 3, but you really want Guardian, and you really want true damage. You know, if you're playing on your items, it's like the items on Kennen don't really matter then, because it's like you're itemizing someone else as like your damage dealer. So say you like red buff, i.e. on backline Senna here, and you just like look towards like Ezreal like Zed. You just look to play strongest, switching into Ezreal Zed later on level 8 if you can. I mean on level 8. And yeah, I think that covers it for about Kennen. Yasuo's not really changed that much. Yasuo's the same, and he's sort of the same as well. Kench I put in C tier, but like it could be like A tier if you like get dropped like, you know, like Urgot, something like that, and you get country chosen Kench. Typically he's not like the best just because it's like enabled by like a 3 cost drop. And Lilia is Lilia. She's been at the bottom for quite some time now. And then like this last slide, I talked about it this like a lot like this video, but it's sort of like you play around based off your itemization. And in this video, I sort of gave like a general idea to start like to make things simpler. It's like Nami. Like I just have like a placeholder unit here holding like Shojin. Like Shojin, like you can slam early. Like what you usually try to look for when you have Shojin is like you play like Seraphine, Ari, or Karthus based off your Shojin. Just play like whatever opener you have, and you more so like lean into a comp based off your items. And like for here, like Shojin is Seraphine, Ari, Karthus. BT, you can play into like Gnar reroll, Ribbon reroll, Yone reroll. Like Zed in Ezreal Zed, Viego in Viego Karthus Akali, as well as like Akali even. There's not enough space for BT section. As you can tell, BT is like a really good item. You can even put it on Poppy in Ezreal Zed. You don't happen to 2-star Zed and you have 2-star Poppy, you can just put the BT on Poppy. Death Cap, Vex, Karthus, Bard. You can even go like Ari. But then you'll be like blue buff, Death Cap probably. Blue buff, you can look for Bard, Lulu, Vex, Ari, and Ezreal. Again, like these are all different comps. Bard, Kaisa reroll, Lulu reroll, Vex Executioner's reroll, Ari, either like KDA, Ari, Akali, or Ari Zed flex. Blue buff Ezreal Zed. I think that about covers it for like most of like the items. I guess like IE, I can do IE as well. Like what would IE be? It would definitely be Ezreal from Ezreal and Zed. It could be Kaisa from Bard and Kaisa. It could be Samira from Vex Executioners, as well as like Country. It can even be like Viego Akali from like Karthus Akali. It can be Riven Yone. Yeah, I think that covers it. That should wrap it up for this video. Yeah. All right. Bye bye.